Hello, everyone. I've been thinking about a way to incorporate providing natural substance as well as spiritual substance, and I started thinking about the theme hidden manna. So, the hidden part is you don't even realize that you're getting this spiritual blessing while I'm also giving you a recipe the 4 cheese macaroni. So, it's a favorite of my sons and my husband, and I figured it might be one of your favorites as well. And since it's Super Bowl Sunday, you need comfort food. So, first, let's get into the details of the hidden manna. I wanted to talk about depression, especially since there's been the loss of lives, both on a worldwide format or platform, as well as within our family. We tend to think when things happen that it is personal to us, and then we internalize it. And I heard depression described as anger turned within. So you are upset about something that happened, and then that anger, you turn it inside and you act out on it. But I want to encourage you that nothing that happened to you is from another person, is about you. It is solely about them. So be encouraged and don't think that it's because of anything you've done, or if you would have done something differently, that it maybe wouldn't have happened that way. It is not up to you to figure that out. Remember that God is in control, and you have to just trust in His promises that every single thing is working out for your good, for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to His purpose, not your purpose, His. So 4 cheese macaroni, let's get to it. My youngest daughter has a gluten allergy, so we're gonna use some gluten-free pasta. I already have my water boiling, so we're going to, today we're gonna use 12 ounces, but the recipe I normally use calls for 16 ounces of uncooked elbow macaroni. And we're gonna add that to our boiling water. You want to use a large enough pot where your pasta is at least covered about halfway. So I like to use one of the larger pots we have in the house, and it probably could take about 4 quarts of water. So what a large pitcher would look like. So let's pour the pasta into the water. And we want to be sure to stir our pasta so it does not stick. And this pasta is going to cook. You want it al dente, because if it's too mushy, then when you put your mac and cheese in the oven to cook even longer, it's going to just be a nasty mess instead of firm mac and cheese. So we're going to let that boil on medium heat for approximately 7 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and set the timer so we don't have to focus on the pasta cooking. So while that's cooking, let's talk about the additional ingredients that we're going to need for the 4 cheese mac and cheese. We're going to need butter. I like Land O'Lakes. You can also use margarine. Imperial is a good margarine to use. So we're going to use 4 different types of cheeses. We're going to use sharp cheddar, mild cheddar, Colby Jack cheese as well. And then we're also going to use Munster cheese. That's going to give you your extra kick because it is not just normal cheese. So I've already cut up our Munster cheese, and then we've purchased the shredded cheddar, mild cheddar, sharp cheddar, and Colby Jack cheeses. And we've separated those. You want to use about a cup to a cup and a half for each separate cheese. And then once you have those together, while your pasta is going, it's time to melt the cheeses. So you can use half and half, but because we don't drink milk in this house, we use almond milk. But you can also use half and half. So we're going to warm our milk. and then add our cheeses to the milk. So it makes this nice cheese sauce. One key ingredient you always want to use for mac and cheese is paprika and onion powder. You also want to use salt and pepper according to taste, but those are going to give you your flavor for your mac and cheese. So if you think that the flavor is just coming from the cheese, you're sadly mistaken. But feel free to use those ingredients as well. And I like to use the paprika and the onion powder because it almost makes you feel like it goes with the meat. So you anticipate having a meat taste. So we want to go ahead and get our cheese melting while our pasta is boiling. And we get those going simultaneously. And then once you have the right taste for your cheese, after you've added your salt, pepper, onion powder, and paprika, then you can add your eggs, which are going to keep your mac and cheese together. Pastor, do you want to talk about how things affect us emotionally and how we take on those things?
Yeah, well, what we don't kind of think about is that the mind makes the body do certain things. It's kind of like if you had a dream and you woke up sweating. It's because the mind didn't know that it wasn't reality. So the emotions that we have, they trigger the body to do something. So especially with like depression, those emotions about death and sickness and all other kind of things can cause our bodies to go in to shock it sometimes.
That's right.
Can cause stress, can cause ulcers, headaches, migraines, vision problems, all kind of things can occur when we just let stress kind of have havoc on our bodies.
Right, and I also think that it's a part of believing that what you're going through has more power than your creator. So I'm adding the Munster cheese now that our other cheeses are melting. Go ahead and add the Munster cheese and allow that to just melt down too. And you want to use a non-stick pan for your cheeses because cheese will burn. Okay, so our mac and cheese is cooked and drained. And like I said, you want to make sure it's al dente, that it is not mush. So we cooked it for about 7 minutes. And then after we boiled it, we drained it and we added 8 ounces of butter to it, basically to keep it from sticking. Now that the noodles are done, I said mac and cheese, but I meant pasta is done, and our cheese has melted, we have also added our seasonings. Remember, salt and pepper to taste, paprika and onion powder. Those are the key ingredients to great mac and cheese. So what we want to do is we're going to add our cheese to the pasta, and then we're also going to add 2 large eggs. So we're going to add our cheese, and the cheese is colorful now because it has paprika in it. And we use cheddar cheeses. Don't worry about the soot on the bottom of the pan. We have gas stoves. So we're gonna mix that and our 2 raw eggs. And you want to be sure to taste your cheese mixture before you add the eggs, because then you can add more salt, more pepper, more paprika, your choice. And feel free at this point to add other things. Some people like bacon in their mac and cheese. You can add cooked pieces of bacon. But this is the final stage before it goes into the oven. And speaking of final stages, a final stage that normally happens before you go to the next level is associated most times with some type of digression, what feels like digression, or pain. So just know that the closer you get to your blessing, the higher the attack, the more intensity of the attack. But he said he is faithful, that what he has declared will not go out and return unto him void. So be encouraged and stop giving so much weight to things that happen, and put that energy back towards and direct it towards our Father, our Creator, and watch as he works. Bless God. So we're emptying our pasta and cheese mixture into a grease or oil 13 by 9 pan. And it already looks like it has enough cheese, but there's no such thing as mac and cheese without cooked cheese on top. So you want to lay it out evenly. And once it's even, we're going to take about another 1.5 cups of cheese, and we're going to top our mac and cheese mixture with this additional cheese. I like that extra zest, so I always use sharp cheddar and the Kobe Jack. I don't use the mild and the monster. I want a zest on the top of my mac and cheese casserole. So you can just take it and sprinkle it with your hands, but you want to put enough where it's basically all over. So this is the 4-cheese mac and cheese, and we're going to cook it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. You don't want to overcook it because it will be dry and it will be disgusting. So we're going to put it in the oven, 350 degrees for 25 minutes. And we're going to set our timer. And in about 25 minutes, you're gonna have cheesy goodness. And when you give your things, your worries to God in about 25 minutes, not literally, but in time, you too will see that his blessings will overtake you, that you will begin to focus on the things that are important and not the things that try to tear you down. I heard a quote, and I believe it was by Jesse Jackson's mother. The quote said that the only difference between a stepping stone and a stumbling block is how high you lift your foot. Choose to lift your foot a little higher today. Okay, friends, so our mac and cheese has cooked at 350 for 25 minutes, and it has gotten a little golden on the top. I would lift it. This pan is extremely hot, so I'm not going to. But let's go ahead and dig into it. We'll put some on our plate. And what we thought we'd do today was do something that we once saw at a restaurant. I don't eat beef, but they served mac and cheese with some type of roast on top of it. So my husband prepared the pork roast, and it smells so good. So you just put it on top, and you can add a piece of garlic bread or a roll on top of it. And this is a Super Bowl worthy meal. So I hope something was said that encouraged you both naturally and spiritually. Get in the kitchen, try things, make this 4-cheese mac and cheese your own by adding additional items. We talked about potentially adding crushed bacon or whatever you like, and then we improvised by adding the pulled pork as a meat center for our pasta. So that's another thing, but do that in your life as well. When one thing is moved or doesn't seem to work, feel free to add other things, but inquire with God first. I hope that this hidden manna message today blesses you tremendously, and that you too decide that depression doesn't have you, but that you will press on. Bless God.